Money has existed in many forms, from shells to tobacco to gold. Any object becomes money simply when we agree to use that object for the purpose of money. In other words, money is an agreement within a community to use something as a medium of exchange.
The community could be local, could be a city, could be a country, could be the world. And anything has been used historically almost as a medium of exchange.
Over time, money has become more ethereal and abstract in form. In 1971, money was delinked from physical substance altogether when President Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. Today's money has reached the height of godlikeness, existing in the form of binary digits and flowing through computers at optic speeds.
We call that fiat money. It's money by decree. There's nothing intrinsically valuable in it. It's just that we all accept it in payment for goods and services. Another way of looking at it, it's a claim on a certain amount of purchasing power somewhere. And we've all agreed to honor that claim. If we cease to honor the claim, then it will cease to be of any value to us. Of course, that's true of any money. But gold or tobacco has intrinsic value, and so consequently, even if you decide you're not going to honor my payment in tobacco, I can still go smoke it or sell it for something. That has intrinsic value. Our current money supply has no intrinsic value whatsoever. It's just purely agreed upon social institution.
Put simply, our money today is faith-based. How does that work?
When I was little, I thought, well, the government makes money, and then I go and I work, and then I get some of that stuff and I use it to go buy my Barbie doll or whatever. You know, I just had a very simple idea. But we have released to the banking system, to private corporations, the power to issue money.
The noted economist John Kenneth Galbraith, in one of his books, said, "The way in which money is created is so simple that the mind is repelled."
Money flows into the economy through the central bank. In the United States, that's the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, a private banking corporation. The Fed creates new money out of thin air by simply writing a check to purchase US government debt. The Fed has no bank deposits on which that check is drawn. Private banks then multiply this new money through a process known as fractional reserve banking. The banks only have to keep 10% of their deposits on reserve, and the rest they can lend out, thereby expanding the original amount. Let's look at a simple example. Say you earn $100 and put it into your bank. The bank keeps $10 in its reserve account and then loans out $90 at interest to another customer. That customer deposits the $90 into the bank. The bank keeps 10% in reserves and loans the rest out at interest. This continues until the original $100 deposit expands to $1,000. This process can be confusing, so don't worry if you don't get it at first. Most people don't. The important thing to remember is that all money comes into existence as debt. Now that we've explored the changing nature and influence of money over time, let's connect the dots on where we are today. Our current money system developed over a period of roughly 500 years and made the industrial age possible. But we live in a very different world than the early days of modern banking and money. Is the economic crisis a siren song urging us to rethink our system and culture of money?
When you have a system by which you're creating money as debt when a bank issues a loan, you get into some very pernicious dynamics. Because when the bank issues a loan, it issues only the principal of the loan, the amount of money that corresponds to the principal of the loan. It does not create the money that must be repaid as interest.
Let's say you borrow $100,000 from the bank at 10% interest. A year later, you must repay the bank $110,000. And remember, the bank did not create that extra $10,000.
Now, where's that other $10,000 going to come from? The only way money gets created is by banks making loans. So the bank had to make a loan to someone else to bring that additional $10,000 into the economy.
So each year, more new money must be loaned into existence to cover all of the past outstanding debt. And that debt compounds at the rate of interest.
Since compound interest is an exponential function and money is created on the basis of loans that carry compound interest, you have an exponential growth in debt.
If it's a debt-based, interest-based system, you put out 10, you take back 11, you put out 11, you take back 12 and a half. So it grows and grows and grows. It's a pyramid scheme until eventually the whole world is locked in debt. That's why we have all this pressure on growth, growth, growth. We have to always expand just to find the money to service the debt that is our money supply. Just to stay where we are, we have to grow, grow, grow.
If the economy's not growing fast enough to increase the debt fast enough, then the loans go into default just because people are scrambling around to get the money to pay back the bank.
It's like a game of musical chairs. Everybody knows that game. We all played it as kids. If you don't have enough chairs, then somebody's going to lose out. That's the way it is with the debt money system.
Will somebody default? Yes, there is always default because that's what the nature of business is. That's the nature of capitalism. We're taking risks. Is that bad? No, not necessarily. We live with risk.
This risk we call the business cycle, which goes something like this. In boom times, debt accumulates exponentially, like plaque building up in the veins of the economy. Since people are competing for a scarce amount of money, inevitably someone defaults. These initial defaults trigger more defaults, and the cascade of defaults eventually crash the economy. The crash wipes out bad debts and people's savings, but with the bad debt cleared, the economy's circulatory system begins flowing upward again.
So it is a system that has boom and bust cycles built right into it.
There had been 187 monetary crises over the last 25 years. There have been 96 banking crashes in the last 25 years. The system is systemically unstable.
The reason the whole system's collapsing is that the whole world has been locked in debt. Every government's in debt. People everywhere are in debt. How could they all be in debt? Who are they in debt to? They're in debt to the bankers who created this whole system and are taking back more than they put out.
Something's wrong with the design. And the design is terminal, in my opinion, because we cannot grow debt to infinity.